It was supposed to be a fun escape, a chance for my wife, Clara, and me to break free from the monotony of work and responsibilities. Halloween had always been Clara's favorite time of year, and this party, hosted by her overly extravagant friend Sophie, was something she'd been excited about for weeks. Clara had spent days perfecting her costume, a vampire queen ensemble that was equal parts daring and alluring. When she stepped out of the bedroom that evening, her transformation left me speechless. The black corset and leather skirt hugged her figure in ways that made it hard to look away. "You look amazing," I managed to say, though a pang of unease stirred in my chest. "Thanks, babe," she replied with a playful twirl. "Not too much, right?" I hesitated for a moment before shaking my head. "No, you look great." Deep down, I didn't want her walking into a crowded room dressed like that. But I trusted her, or at least I thought I did. Sophie's house was unrecognizable, transformed into a haunted mansion complete with fog machines and a crowd of costumed guests spilling into every corner. Clara was in her element, effortlessly charming everyone she met, her laughter ringing out over the music. At first, I stayed close to her, sipping on a beer and trying to enjoy the night. But as the hours passed, Clara drifted further away, drawn into conversations and groups where I didn't seem to belong. I try not to let it bother me. Clara was naturally social, and I didn't want to be the overbearing husband. But when I saw her on the patio with a guy dressed as a werewolf, a guy who exuded the kind of cocky confidence that made my blood boil, I couldn't stay silent. "Hey, there you are," I said, stepping into their conversation. Clara's eyes lit up, her smile a little too bright. "Oh, hey, this is Jake. He works with Sophie." Jake extended his hand, his grin smug. "Nice to meet you." Reluctantly, I shook his hand, my grip firm. "Same." For the next few minutes, I stood there awkwardly as Jake monopolized Clara's attention. His stories were animated, his charm effortless. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was testing boundaries, my boundaries. Eventually, I managed to steer Clara back inside, but the uneasy feeling lingered. By midnight, the party had taken a rowdy turn. Sophie suggested a game of truth or dare, and despite my reluctance, Clara begged me to join. The dares escalated quickly, and when it was Clara's turn, Sophie smirked, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "I dare you to kiss the most attractive person here," Sophie said, her voice dripping with playful challenge. The room erupted in cheers and laughter. My stomach sank. Clara hesitated, glancing at me. For a moment, I thought she'd end this ridiculous game by kissing me, her husband. But then she turned to Jake. Time seemed to slow as Clara leaned in, her lips meeting his. It wasn't a quick, innocent peck. It was deliberate, slow, and intimate. The cheers around us were deafening, but all I could hear was the sound of my heart shattering. When she pulled back, Clara's eyes met mine. "It's just a game," she said softly, as if those words could erase what had just happened. I forced a laugh, excused myself, and stepped out onto the front porch. The cool night air did nothing to calm the storm raging inside me. A few minutes later, Clara found me outside. "No, are you okay?" "No, Clara, I'm not," I said, my voice tight. "What the hell was that?" "It was just a dare," she replied defensively. Everyone was watching. I didn't want to make it awkward. "Well, congratulations," I snapped, because now it's incredibly awkward between us. Before she could respond, Jake appeared at the door. "Everything okay out here?" "No, it's not," I barked, stepping toward him. "Why don't you mind your own damn business?" Jake raised his hands in mock surrender. Didn't mean to intrude. As he walked back inside, I turned to Clara. "I'm going home," I said firmly. "You can come with me, or you can stay here. Your choice." Clara crossed her arms, her jaw tightening. "I'm staying." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I stared at her, barely recognizing the woman in front of me. "Fine," I said coldly. "But if you stay, we're done." I left the party, anger and humiliation burning through me. Back at home, I paced the living room, trying to make sense of what had happened. My phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. "Hello?" "No, it's Ben. Sophie's boyfriend." The voice on the other end said awkwardly. "I don't know how to tell you this, but Clara's upstairs with Jake. I thought you deserved to know." The words hit me like a freight train. "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice trembling. I'm sorry, man. I'm sure. I hung up, my hands shaking. Rage coursed through me as I stared at the framed wedding photo on the mantel. Without thinking, I grabbed it and hurled it against the wall. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the room. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I started planning. The next morning, I transferred every penny from our joint account into my personal one. Clara didn't deserve a dime of what we'd built together. Then I contacted a lawyer. Over the next few days, I gathered evidence. I combed through bank statements, messages, and social media posts, piecing together the full extent of Clara's betrayal. When she called me, begging to talk things out, I didn't hold back. I know about you and Jake, I said coldly. And I'm filing for divorce. Clara's voice cracked. No, please. I made a mistake. I love you. No, I replied. You made your choice. Now live with it. When I went back to the house to collect my things, I caught them together. Clara and Jake in our bed. My blood ran cold. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply pulled out my phone and snapped photos. What the hell are you doing? Clara demanded, scrambling to cover herself. Gathering evidence, I said calmly. You have 2 days to get out of this house. If you're not gone, I'll call the police. Jake muttered something under his breath, but I didn't even look at him. Clara pleaded, tears streaming down her face, but I was done. The divorce was quick and brutal. Clara lost everything. Her financial security, her reputation, and the home we'd shared. As for Jake, he disappeared from her life as soon as things got messy. I rebuilt my life, piece by piece. It wasn't easy, but each step forward felt like reclaiming a part of myself. A year later, I stood in my new home, watching the sunset with someone new, someone who reminded me what love was supposed to feel like. Clara's betrayal had broken me, but in the end, it also set me free. The first few weeks after I served Clara the divorce papers were the hardest. She called me constantly, leaving voicemails that swung between apologetic and defensive. At first, I listened to them, hoping to hear something, anything, that would make sense of what she'd done. But the more I listened, the clearer it became. Clara wasn't sorry for betraying me. She was sorry she got caught. I made a mistake, Noah, one voicemail said, her voice trembling. But you're throwing everything away. Don't you think we owe it to each other to fix this? Fix this? The words grated on me. I deleted the message and blocked her number. My lawyer, Jason, was relentless. He ensured every legal detail was airtight, leaving Clara with little leverage. I'd secured our savings, collected evidence of her infidelity, and documented every lie she'd told. Clara tried to fight back. She claimed the money in our joint account belonged to both of us and that she deserved half. But the proof of her affair shut that argument down quickly. The photos I'd taken of her and Jake, combined with statements from Sophie's boyfriend Ben, painted a damning picture. Jason called me after one particularly brutal hearing. Noah, you're in the driver's seat. Stay the course. Don't let her emotional pleas sway you. I'm not backing down, I replied. She made her choice. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, Clara's life began to unravel. Sophie's boyfriend had spread the word about what had happened, and Clara quickly became the subject of gossip among her friends and colleagues. Jake, the man she'd risked everything for, disappeared just as I predicted. He didn't want the drama or the fallout, leaving Clara to deal with the wreckage alone. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Clara had moved into a tiny apartment on the outskirts of town. She was struggling to make ends meet, juggling 2 jobs, and dealing with the whispers that followed her everywhere she went. It should have made me feel triumphant, but all I felt was a quiet, cold satisfaction. For the first time in years, I focused solely on myself. I threw myself into my work, took up running to clear my mind, and reconnected with old friends I'd neglected during my marriage. One of those friends, Marcus, had been a sounding board throughout the divorce. You're handling this better than I would, he said over beers one night. Some days are better than others, I admitted. But I'm not letting her take any more from me. He raised his glass. Here's to starting over. It wasn't just about starting over, though. It was about learning to trust myself again, to believe that I deserved better. About 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Clara at a coffee shop. I almost didn't recognize her. She looked tired, her once polished appearance replaced by a worn-out, disheveled look. "No," she said, her voice hesitant. "Can we talk?" I didn't want to, but something in her expression made me nod. We sat down at a corner table, the silence between us heavy. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not just for the affair, but for everything, for how I treated you, for taking you for granted." I studied her face, searching for sincerity. There was a time when those words might have softened me, but now they felt hollow. "I appreciate the apology," I said evenly, "but it doesn't change what happened." She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I know. I wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better." For a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy, but it was quickly overshadowed by the memory of her betrayal. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Clara," I said, standing up. "But I'm moving on." A year after the divorce, I found myself in a place I never thought I'd be: happy. The pain of Clara's betrayal had dulled, replaced by a sense of clarity and purpose. I met someone new, Lila, at a work event. She was nothing like Clara. Where Clara had been calculated and polished, Lila was warm and genuine. On our third date, she asked about my past. I hesitated, unsure how much to share. But something about Lila made me feel safe. I was married, I admitted, and in it badly. She cheated, and while I made sure she paid for it, Lila didn't flinch. "I'm sorry you went through that," she said simply. "But it sounds like you came out stronger." I smiled, a weight lifting from my chest. "Yeah, I think I did." One evening, as I sat on the balcony of my new apartment, watching the city lights flicker in the distance, I thought about the man I'd been a year ago. The betrayal had shattered me, but it had also forced me to confront the truth. I deserved better than what Clara had given me. Revenge had been satisfying, but the real victory was moving on. And as Lila joined me on the balcony, her laughter lighting up the night, I realized I'd finally found what I was looking for. Not just love, but peace.